Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that we have partnered with BetMGM right now. All right. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code. What's the bonus code, Sheer?
BetMGM.
PHNX. Duh.
PHNX. I'm just kidding.
There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for Arizona audience, you will get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use bonus code PHNX. Check out all the show notes for full details and all kinds of good stuff going on right here. Keep in mind, with the bonus bet, fans, you can claim your bonus bet on the house. Every Saturday and Wednesday, fans will automatically receive a bonus bet upon logging into their account. Bets expire after 72 hours, so don't wait. And now, let's hear from Shane Diefenbach with the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
All right, now joined by Jason Shear, I am merely Mike Luke. All right, Shear, we got a lot to get to here, but first, you've had a love-hate relationship with Dave Heeke. I have had a strictly love relationship with Dave Heeke. But Dave Heeke there was something put out in the alumni magazine from a couple months ago that Dave Heeke said, and here's what he said, and I'm going to get Jason Shear's reaction right here, and then I will give mine. I'm not sure how to say it because it might change tomorrow. Keep in mind, this is the great Dave Heeke. But we're faced with new and ever-changing world and conference realignment. Adjustments will have to be made, but I know that we will land in a very good spot. Certainly the hope, who knows, whenever you print the result, may be different than the hope, but we'd like to be with the Pac-12 and continue the great tradition. But if not, there will be a new landscape and a new opportunity for the University of Arizona. Jason Shear, that is a departure from Oregon State, Washington State, and all the people and all the programs that nobody wants.
Yeah, I think there's the only other AD I can recall making a similar statement is Rob Mullins at Oregon. And there's a reason for it. Like even though it's older, the statement was in March at the Pac-12 tournament. It's refreshing to see that there's honesty, which is basically like, look, we'd love to stay in the Pac-12, but if the deal's not there, we're going to adjust. And it may not be in this conference. That's all I want an AD to say. I get why Washington State and Oregon State don't say it. But it's like, if they're not going to say it, stop going to them for quotes because they don't have other options.
All right. Now, will you give Dave Heeke a lot of credit right here, Jason Shear, for putting this out there?
I did. I tweeted that I gave him credit. I like the honesty from Dave.
All right. Now, again, Oregon State fans, Washington State fans, I'm sure they'll be hopping in here eventually, and we'll get to you. But to me, this was the first time that we've really seen an athletic director who could, who's obviously looking at stuff saying, yeah, not everything's just great. It's not, sure, we'd like to stay in the Pac-12, but at the end of the day, we're going to do what's best for Arizona, and we're going to have options.
Now, and I will say the natural reaction now to reading that statement from a lot of people is going to be like, okay, well, that was from the first week in March. We're now approaching the end of May.
I think it's worse now.
Right, but how long? And I always ask you this and talk to you about this. It's like, okay, what do we think the timeline is? And that's the one question we can't get answered. The closest we've come to a timeline is June 30th, because if San Diego State isn't announced by June 30th, then they can't enter the league until 2025, which is still possible, just year off, whatever. But that's the closest that we've seen to any sort of deadline.
All right, and that's why we like Dave Heeke, because, again, he's on the cutting edge right there, and he was the first athletic director to put out a statement stating that Arizona is going to do what's best for Arizona, and maybe that's staying in the Pac-12. Maybe that means moving on, but Arizona is going to do what's best for Arizona right there, Jason Shear. I like that.
Yeah, and it's also I like the statement because it's a big screw you to the people that are still convinced that Arizona is not looking at options.
Here's the other thing, too. They would be dumb not to be. That would be a dereliction of duty to not look at other options. That's your job.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Washington State and Oregon State, you're not looking at other options because you don't have any other options. But I can guarantee you, Washington, Oregon, Utah, Arizona, all of that are looking for options. And if not, then the AD should be fired.
And what we've been talking about from day one, my dream, again, is to ditch ASU in the process and to go to the Big 12 with Colorado. We become buddies with Colorado. ASU stays behind in the new incarnation of the WCC.
Would you like the Territorial Cup in like the first week of the season?
Oh, I'm fine with it either way as long as they are playing, Weber State, Boise State, and Arizona's going into Fog Allen Fieldhouse. I'm totally fine with it.
Remember how weird it was when at the end of the year, Arizona played like Louisiana Lafayette?
It was bizarre, and I still think about that from time to time. Like, what are we doing here?
It's strange. But yeah, the dream scenario is clearly ASU is too arrogant to want to make a move, gets left behind. Oregon and Washington leave in a few years. ASU is screwed. Yeah, that's the dream scenario.
All right, then this is called a tease, but guess who's coming on the show on Monday by request? Who wanted to come on the show?
Dave?
The great Dave Heeke. Back the Dave right there. Can we get a back the Dave out of Jason Scheer?
Dave, I expect hard-hitting questions.
You will get all of those hard-hitting questions right there. All right. Now, let's talk let's really get into some Arizona basketball here. We haven't had you on since the commits broke. Motiejus Krivas, 7'2", 245 pounds, a huge individual. All right, well, I've been saying it all week. What do you expect out of Motiejus Krivas? And we're going to ask the bigger question after that.
I don't expect him to come in and dominate, but, the people I talk to look like international recruits. I can only go off so much. I clearly haven't seen them in person. So I go off videos, and maybe I watch longer videos or have access to different videos than other people, but I'm still watching film of a guy playing against competition that I don't know what level they're on. Right. To me, I expect a guy that can contribute right away. I think that we need to have realistic expectations. I don't come in here and say, oh, he's going to play 30 minutes or he's going to make Oumar Ballo's life miserable in competition. No, if he can provide 10 to 15 minutes as a solid backup center, I think that's a big win for at least his first year at Arizona.
All right, one of your colleagues put out there that he thinks that he is going to start next to Oumar Ballo. Your colleague is wrong, Jason Scheer. He will not start next to Oumar Ballo because those are both two centers that have absolutely no shooting. That will not happen.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. He doesn't know much, but it's I mean, to put it bluntly, there's no world where those guys could start next to each other. Even if Tommy Lloyd is still one of the only coaches in the country that loves the two big lineup. That's beyond the two big lineup. I mean, you just can't do it.
Well, there's just absolutely no flexibility there whatsoever. You have two guys who we love Oumar on this show. Oumar is a leader of men. When you think of leader of men in the dictionary, Aiden Wall thinks the exact same thing behind the scenes, by the way, making us look good as Jacob Franklin is off in a meeting right now. Aiden, you're a beast, dude. Appreciate you. Oumar Ballo is always going to be in the paint. It's not like he's going to come back and have a 3-point shot or a 17-foot shot. The little push thing is the closest thing we're going to get.
I mean, you always go, you are what you guard, basically. And I love Oumar, but I don't want Oumar guarding a 6'7" power forward. It's just not going to happen. And so, yeah, I mean, look, you might see some lineups where you get a big forward and a guy like Oumar or Krivas or whatever, but the two of them on the court at the same time, something would have gone terribly wrong in terms of fouls and all that.
All right. Now, there's going to be another. We're not naming the recruit right here, but we're just going to talk theoretically about who he is because I think at this point, with so many people putting it out there, I think it's fair to say that we can at least talk about him even if we don't name the name. Theoretically, this is the better of the two recruits, in my opinion, right here, Scheer. This is about 6'8". Small forward, mainly a power forward, a little bit of skill. He's the one out of all of them that I look at and say there could be some he could possibly have starting potential.
Yeah, I mean I don't know if he will start because the idea is to go and get a 4 like Kaluma or Keshad Johnson, whatever. But I talked to a scout over there, and I just pulled up his report, and he said Blank is a more complete player than Henry. More upside on the defensive end, has a 7'2" wingspan. Can be impressive on defense when he's engaged. More physical, and his strength and weakness lies in the same thing. He does everything very well, but nothing exceptional. So,
and we're talking about the mystery recruit that we all know about.
Right.
Correct?
So very, very solid player. Look, he's a guy where if you, once his name comes out, I'm not saying his name, I'll explain why in a minute, but if you Google him, there's teams like he comes up on some NBA boards as a stash player for a year. And, there's a good shot where he comes to Arizona for a few years and he's playing in the NBA.
What do you say to the person out there that feels a little bit burned by the International right there? And that sounds like by the way, it sounds like an action movie, Burned by the International. But, because again, and let's be honest here, Tommy Lloyd's got a great track record, but as far as instant impacts, Philly B ain't that dude. Adama isn't that guy. Now, Henry Vasar could turn out to be that guy, but he certainly didn't, I think, live up to what a lot of people expected this past year. So what would you say to the people that are saying, why are we banking on international guys?
Well, I think there's two things. Number one, there's a reason why Krivas is coming in behind Umar Ballo. There's a reason why this other guy is coming in, but they still want another 4. Internationals in college are difficult to predict, and they do have different paths to success. A lot of times, look at Umar, for instance, right? Didn't play at Gonzaga that first year. Well, now look at him. He's one of the better centers in the country, right?
Right.
You have to be patient and approach international players a little bit differently. There's a chance that Krivas and the other guy come in and they're solid but not outstanding. But then, the year after, they're awesome.
Right.
For all we know, Henry's going to be awesome this year. We don't know how he's developed until we see it. I get the idea of being burned. I just think that you have to be a little more patient with international guys because I think their path to success is generally a little bit different.
We need to talk about that there in a second. But first, Jason Shearer, have you been to Circle K in the last 48 hours?
I actually have, yes.
All right. What did you do at Circle K?
I got a soda and I got some gasoline.
All right. Now, was it the Circle K in the tough area or the nice area or the medium area? Because the Circle Ks are everywhere.
Right down the street. It's really weird. I have 2 across the street from each other. I don't know why.
Interesting. Well, that's because they are for the people, by the people. I think you just answered that question right here. But make sure you're not missing out on all this great stuff. Right now, text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club and get a buy one, get one free offer on a 32-ounce Polar Pop. Head to CircleK.com/store locator to find Circle Ks near you and to maybe find a Jason Shearer near you if you get what he just said. Now, it is also time for our bet of the week right now, Jason Shearer. I believe the Lakers are going to win tonight. I like the Lakers over the Nuggets straight up. What say you?
No.
You like the Nuggets?
I don't know how the Lakers figure out the Jokic problem. So
I got the answer for you. You put Rui on him and you let AD roam like they did when they made that huge comeback.
Yeah, they have to do that. Look at Rui. By the way, Tommy Lloyd recruit Rui Hachimura.
Tommy Lloyd. Who's the best international big man that Tommy Lloyd ever recruited? Sabonis?
Yeah. But I bet you that Tommy recruited, Sabonis.
Right. After that, though, it might be Rui.
Yes. Yeah.
There we go right there. So, again, you got to have faith in the Tommy gun right there. Shearer, I've done a unconvincing job of getting you to switch your pick. You still like the Nuggets?
I do. I usually go with the opposite of what you tell me.
All right, fair enough. Most people do that. It's probably a smart move. All right, Zona Tucson says, where's Jonathan Flo? There is no Jonathan Flo. We will not talk about him because he's not here. Correct, Jason?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't believe he's coming. I haven't heard his name at all. He had some issues. He needed to straighten out academically. I'm not sure he did that. And I'm going to be very blunt with you. He's not very good. So,
yeah, so we didn't want him anyway. A lot of times when really good play. The one favorite thing of people on Shear's message board.
It's all message boards. Come on. It's all message boards.
No, I'm beating up on your message board because it's the best message board. But whenever a 5-star kid, didn't really want him anywhere, not a good fit. So, but this is not that case. This is not a situation like that. All right, now let's talk about Keshad Johnson. And then I'm going to make the case for Henry Vasar right here. But Keshad Johnson, you basically got 3 schools in the mix right now, Arizona, Kentucky, and Oklahoma. I know Arizona felt really, really good when he left the visit here, but you go to Kentucky, things can change. I'm not holding my breath on Keshad Johnson, but I'd love to be wrong.
Yeah, and I don't know where he's going. Usually I do. I really don't. He has not committed anywhere yet. The schools involved don't really know. Oklahoma believes that they have some momentum. Remember, Oklahoma had the first official visit. They probably could offer him maybe a larger role, at least with less competition. Kentucky, smaller role. Arizona, he would start, but clearly there's other guys, and money is going to be an issue for him, and he wants the most, etc. So Oklahoma is very much in it. There's no guarantee or lock for where he's going. It wouldn't. One of those three schools on Saturday wouldn't surprise me at all.
Jason Scheer, though, putting Oklahoma back in the equation right there, though. Most people not. I think that there might be some legs to that, Scheer. I hope you're wrong, but I think there could be some legs to that.
Yeah, I think, and I take responsibility a little bit. And, when you get Arizona and Kentucky, you kind of ignore the other schools. But looking back at it, Oklahoma had the first official. When I first reported on Keshad Johnson, I said Oklahoma was very much in it. I don't know why I stopped mentioning Oklahoma.
You know what? Out of sight, out of mind.
I think I got so bothered by Bijan Cortez leaving that I just said, forget Oklahoma.
Anybody out there? All right, we got to tell a story about Jason Scheer right now to show, again, we've talked about this before, to prove that Scheer is a liar at times. Jason Scheer told me, this is back when I was writing articles for Wildcat Authority, where he would yell at me because he needed a 450-word article, and they would generally be about 285. He told me, though, if Arizona got interested in Bijan Cortez, if there was correspondence that I could write an article about Bijan Cortez, there was correspondence from Justin Gainey, and Jason Scheer walked away and said, you know what? I don't care that I promised you this. You're not going to write that article.
This is true. The people need realistic expectations. I knew Bijan wasn't getting recruited to Arizona, and Bijan's changed. Have you noticed? If you look at him now, he's
all sleeved up now.
Yeah, Oklahoma changed him.
Right. But you still lied, though. You do admit you lied.
I lie to you all the time. So, yes.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Okay. Now, Arthur Kaluma, though, another name that, first of all, Arizona cannot afford $1 million right there. Arthur Kaluma is another interesting case, though, if he were to withdraw, because he did say that he would look to transfer. There's obviously a track record there with Arizona. He would he'd slide right into that 4, I would imagine, right there, and maybe give Arizona a little bit more athleticism as well.
Yeah, if they miss on Johnson, Kaluma's the guy. At least that the focus would turn to. I watched him yesterday. He was all right in the combine. You never know until they leave. I think they have until May 31st. So that if you're an Arizona fan and let's say Arizona doesn't land Keshad Johnson, that's the deadline, even really with guards too. So May 31st is that big day where guys have to decide if they're staying in or not. Keshad Johnson and Kaluma are pretty different. Kaluma's probably better offensively. Right. Johnson is probably better defensively. They play a little different. But really, it's a success if you land either one.
All right. Now, Caleb Love is a name that has re-entered the portal. Now, Jason Scheer is very adamant against Caleb Love. I like Caleb Love because I like people that can drop 40 points in a Final Four game right there. Let's see here. 40 points. I don't care about. Oh, David Grace. I don't care about. I don't care about the other aspects. Arizona needs guys that can make plays off the bounce. I would go to Caleb Love, and who was just turned down from basically by the University of Michigan. I would say, listen, you're going to get 12 shots a game. They're going to be good shots. You need to buy in defensively. I will give him a gentleman's handshake and say, Caleb Love, you are part of the Arizona Wildcat family.
Mike calls me yesterday. He goes, all right, sure, I know you don't like Caleb Love, but what if I told you this? He'd play 20 minutes a game. He'd come off the bench. He would take 10 shots. Basically, Mike said we would change everything about him. Would you take him? Yes. The problem is Caleb's going to go, look, you don't go from 30 shots to 10 or whatever, right? You just don't.
So you're saying that there's no track record of that at the Arizona in recent memory is what you're saying.
Who?
Terrell Brown.
Yeah, but he left. He left Arizona because he wasn't getting enough shots.
But he did a totally different role at Arizona, correct?
Yeah, and he left because he didn't like it.
Who cares?
He's like, what did I do? I'm going to Washington where I can lose, put up shots. I think Love winds up at like Missouri or Indiana. Those are the two schools, I think.
All right. By the way, Shear backs the A to the fullest because I can tell you that Shear actually believes that Arizona has a better academic department than the University of Michigan. Shear, that is backing the A hardcore right there. That's like saying that Arizona football is better than Alabama football.
I was joking.
Shear, all right.
What does Michigan do well, though? You know?
No, I get it. Yeah, no, it's just, let's just see. It's E.K. Thompson is flag cat on here. That's a whole nother can of worms right there for another day. All right, but Shear, I'm going to make the case now for Henry Vasar and Dylan Anderson since everybody is down on Dylan Anderson, including Stat Freak right there. You're being a prisoner of the moment. But first, Tap and Bottle. All right, Jason Shear has not been to the Tap and Bottle watch parties, and that's why he is a lesser man for it. Most of the greats. What's that?
I've been to Tap and Bottle, though.
All right. Now, you can check out the Tap and Bottle location on the north side, or you can check out the Tap and Bottle location downtown. Either way, they got you covered. By the way, you can get 4 Peaks there as well. 4 Peaks. And, again, support local. Scott and Rebecca do a great job. 4 Peaks and Tap and Bottle. Those go together like peanut butter and jelly, Jason Shear. Would you agree with that?
100%.
All right. Speaking of which, I already saw one of the Peaks, and E.K. Thompson, be nice. I see what you're doing there. 4 Peaks, though. I saw Dylan Anderson walking down the street the other day, and I immediately thought of the official brew of PHNX Sports, 4 Peaks. Check out 4 Peaks Brew or 4 Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest on Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to enjoy these drinks. Please drink responsibly. All right, Shear, you've been trying to push Dylan Anderson out from day one. We're not going to have it. Dylan had a smile on his face as he was walking down the street, even with the all this news. What does the future hold for Dylan Anderson? Because I need him to be here so I can basically spike the football on your entire board.
You want to know my expectations for Dylan?
Well, but don't be a jerk about it, though, either.
I posted this the other day. If they land the other guy, I would actually redshirt Dylan.
Thank you. I've been saying
I wouldn't kick him off. I think redshirting, let him get stronger, let him get more comfortable in the system. He's not playing that much. Let's be realistic. He's not playing that much this season. Redshirt Dylan. Let's see what happens. Let's see the roster movement and go from there.
Well, because think about it. Umar Ballo, leader of men, probably moves on to lead other men after this season, even though he'll have another option right there. I mean, who knows with all of the international guys. You redshirt Dylan this year. He comes back fit, lean, and ready to go, and he's explosive around the hoop. Dylan Anderson is not going to Grand Canyon to team up with Duke Brennan. Dylan Anderson is going to stay here. And I just got Shear to admit that he likes Dylan Anderson because generally with crummy players, Shear will say, yeah, I'd probably tell him to go somewhere else. You want a red shirt, that means that you see potential in Dylan Anderson.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no redshirting doesn't hurt. And then if you redshirt him and then he's not very good, then you could tell him to go somewhere else.
All right. Now, Aiden, I don't know if you're are you able to pull the roster up for this coming season, this little nifty graphic right here? We're going to look at this graphic right here, and I'm going to also – all right, here we go. Very good. Very appreciate this. All right. Henry Vasar, your board is out on Henry Vasar. I am not out on Henry Vasar. As a matter of fact, I don't know why your board is out on Henry Vasar, but – what I see in Henry is, and when you get to watch some things behind the scenes, I don't mean that as a subtle brag, but Henry's a pretty good shooter. Henry can block shots. They just need him. I think he just needs a little bit of confidence, but I think there's a lot to like about Henry Shear. Thanks, Aiden.
Yeah, I mean, look, it goes back to what I said before. Like, you need a little bit more patience with international guys. Like, Henry's confidence really suffered. Here's a kid that he was very successful internationally, probably never played against a certain level of competition and all that, struggles, gets in his own head, and Arizona basically says, you know what, we're not playing you anymore because we don't – Tommy Lloyd literally said, we don't want to put you into certain situations where it could hurt your confidence and you won't succeed because we're afraid of losing you completely, right? And so That situation you work in the off season. That's a funny comment.
We have a Chiefs sighting.
You work in the off season's confidence and all that, but Arizona's not giving up on it. I mean, again, there's a legit chance we see Vesar and he's good. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all with an off season and all that. Saw him the other day at the softball game. He definitely looks stronger. And so it would be silly.
Why didn't you post a picture? I always post a picture if I see a player.
It's a little weird, but I think it would be silly to give up on a mobile 7-footer who can do a lot of things.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a very good point. And again, so are we convinced then that that Pelle Larsson is going to start? I say that because Pelle Larsson is Larry Bird off the bench, but he's also Michael Luke as a starter. There's a big difference.
I would be very, very surprised if Pelle doesn't start.
Now,
I don't even think it's part of the conversation.
Okay. But what happens if maybe he's just not cut out for starting? We have a fairly large sample size of Pelle starting.
I would encourage you to look at the splits of him starting versus coming off the bench, and it'll awaken you that they're actually pretty similar.
So then, why was he moved out of the starting lineup and onto the bench then?
Because Arizona had no depth whatsoever, none.
So it had nothing to do with Pelle's play, is what you're telling me. It had to do because Tommy Lloyd realized about halfway into the season they don't have depth. That's what it is.
Maybe his play, but look, like, you're at that point, the first guy off the bench was what? Cedric?
Yeah, I like Cedric. Cedric was okay.
Was he? I will say this, like, it's very clear that Tommy didn't think the bench was good enough last year because and especially up front.
All right, now Stat Freak, E.K. Thompson. Jason, does the guard wing that Arizona lands up being better than Courtney Ramey? I would 100% take that guy being as good as Courtney Ramey because he's probably not going to start. If I get Courtney Ramey coming off the bench, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who that guard's going to be, to be completely honest. But Courtney Ramey off the bench would be fine with me. Courtney Ramey as a starter playing 35 minutes was the issue.
Yes, I would agree with that. But Courtney Ramey, if they could get a Courtney Ramey, a Power 5 player that was at, that was a double-digit scorer for a good team, sign me up at this point, man.
For sure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a Courtney Ramey playing 20 minutes a game or 25 minutes a game, whatever it is. It was that Courtney Ramey was like the second offensive option. Your main, like, it was just it wasn't a great. You got to be careful giving guys bigger roles than they deserve. In a nice way, I guess. I
am a bigger fan of Jaden Bradley than you. I think that we can confirm that, although you don't think he stinks. I look for Jaden Bradley next year to average 10-4, and in the off chance that Kylan Boswell does leave, Jaden Bradley's going to get the keys to the car. I think it was a very good move because I never thought Arizona was going to get to Don Thomas, and I don't believe Arizona is going to get Zoom Diallo. This is a great option right here, Sheer.
Yeah, I don't have any issues. I mean, my only issue with Jaden Bradley is his shooting. Maybe it improves. If it improves, cool. But if not, you still have a guy that's really good defensively, draws fouls, gets in the lane, can handle the ball. And I think the fact that if Boswell somehow goes off, or even if he makes a bad decision at the time and goes pro, whatever, you just move Bradley to the 1 and you're cool.
I think you're pretty good at that point. Hey, funny story about this. So LeBron James' kid, Bryce James, is now transferring to Campbell Hall, correct?
Yeah. And he's buying a facility over there to work
All right.
for.
Now, you might say, Mike, why are you bringing this up? The head coach of Campbell Hall had a mistaken idea that I was important, and he actually was texting me, trying to get me to get him a job on the Arizona Wildcats basketball staff. That's
Go ahead. What are the odds that LeBron talks to the head coach of Campbell Hall and goes, you know what? We need a new head coach of Campbell Hall because
it wouldn't surprise me in the least.
He's donating $50,000 to build a new facility at Campbell Hall.
I'm just telling you, if you're going to Mike Luke to try to get Division I coaching jobs, there's probably something along the way that didn't work out.
By the way, there's something I want to tell, and I'm going to post it as well. So the unnamed prospect that we were talking about earlier, his team won today. So they've got another week or so of games. So it may not be official for weeks.
Right. And so we're probably looking, but so You got that. We're assuming you add him, and then you're going to probably add one more domestic power forward and then a guard, and you're probably going to call it a day at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. But Arizona will be very tall, though. I think that we can agree on that one, though, Sheer.
I would hope so.
All right. One thing I do got to say, this is totally off topic, and we're going to get back to U of A in a second. Who gets to a Final Four first? Or he's been to one before, so I can't say that. Who gets to a Final Four next? Rick Pitino or Tommy Lloyd? Rick Pitino has a billionaire who's going to totally fund their NIL program right now.
It's a fair question. I love Rick Pitino. Forgetting all the other stuff, he's obviously a great coach. I don't think anyone can deny that. He's got a nice roster. It could be a tournament roster. We know he's going to do well after that when he gets a full year to recruit and all that. They're going to be good. Final Four, a crapshoot. Could Rick Pitino make a Final Four before Tommy? Absolutely.
Well, all right. What's your gut say? Are you going to back the A or are you going to back the RP?
I always back the A.
All right, that's a good point. I wonder now. Melo Alvarez says, "I wonder if any of these new recruits have been to Circle K. That should be the first stop. If you're not taking these kids to Circle K on that first stop, and what are we doing right here?"
Didn't you ask Philly B if you had been to Del Taco or something, and he looked at you like you were nuts?
Yes. So I've had multiple interactions with Philly B, and I want to tell you, first of all, I'm on record. I don't think Philly B is ever going to play here. I'd love to be wrong, and I would love to start a "my bad Philly B" movement. Two things about Philly B. We're at media day, and his English is a little rough. He's obviously not from here, and so I asked him a question, and I said, "Hey, so what's your favorite stuff to do in the off season?" And he said, "Well, I like playing video games." And then he says, "And what about you?" And then I was like, "Well, I don't know, dude. So I gave some weird answer. And then I said, "What do you think is the best aspects to your game right now?" And he says, "Dribbling and shooting, most likely." And then he says to me, "And what about you?" I've never had anybody say to me twice in a row, "And what about you?" Obviously, it was a conversational ploy, but I was taken aback. I hope that I'm wrong on Philly B.
Great kid, super fun to talk to, really nice. Everyone loves, and that's another thing too. Tommy Lloyd is a super nice guy, as we've gone over, but Tommy is very unlikely to give up on a guy like Philly who's still engaged and all that. If I don't want to throw a Dema ball under the bus, but
you're about to.
You could see a point last season where it was very clear that Adema wasn't engaged anymore, right? Just didn't want to be there. And at that point, it's okay, try to find another spot. He goes to Santa Clara, he'll put up shots, whatever. As long as Philly's engaged and all that and practicing hard and willing and contribute, a member of the team, he's probably not going anywhere.
Yeah, and Andrew Bleo, great point there. I am not giving up on Philly B. I want Philly B to be here all 4 years. How about that? I would even be cool with Philly B being here a fifth year, because when you see Philly B on campus, he's enjoying his time here, and that's what college is all about, Sheer.
Yeah, free Philly. Hashtag free Philly. Let's get
free
that
Philly. Also, I want to make fun of UCLA here for a few minutes too. Their roster next year looks terrible.
Yes and no.
You got Dylan Andrews. You're probably going to get Bona back. I get that. You got rid of the spitter.
Their guard bothers me a lot.
What's that?
I'll say that. Their guard situation bothers me.
Do they still have Will McClendon?
Yeah, but he's not good.
But that's not good.
He won't play. They tried to get rid of him, but he stayed.
All right. So what's UCLA's starting lineup, Sheer?
I don't know, actually.
That's the point. All right. I can tell you
as you start. The Spanish dude will start, right?
I would assume.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. So, again, I think they're a distant four. I think the U of A is going to be significantly better than UCLA next year.
By the way, did you see what Hawkwise did at the Combine?
No, what'd he do?
He had the fourth best vertical. He had a 39.
That surprises me.
Yeah.
I am glad I wish he's the epitome of a guy, and Tiger was as well, that I wish we had, but he felt like he was here for 35 years.
Arizona absolutely loved Hawkwise coming out of high school. And basically, and didn't recruit him because they knew he was going to UCLA. One coach told me he is a monster, and that was when he was in high school. And now look at him.
Well, did you know that his mom is from Tucson?
Yes.
She went to Sabino High School and Pima right there. That is the connections. That is what you get when you listen to the AZ Wildcats podcast that maybe many people out there don't know. Now, I want to talk a little bit of football, but first, OGs. Now, you might be like Kenny Abbey and you are the OG, but there's also different forms of OGs. You might be like Sheer and you're up prowling at night until about 3 o'clock because you can't sleep. This is correct.
Yes.
Okay. You might be like Sheer and you're saying, man, I just wish I had something to make me go to sleep. OGs is here for you. Find them at your local dispensary at ogsbrands.com. You must be 21 years or up to and enjoy responsibly. Now, you can get the strawberries and cream, CBD THC 1-to-1 ratio, rebranded as Happy Balance. They have mixed bags now, the fruits and the creams right there. Very good stuff. All right, I want to talk a little bit about running backs here for Arizona football because I think we've done a poor job of I've done a poor job of actually accentuating this unit right here and about how good this unit's going to be. And the recruiting going on. First of all, they have a recruit coming in the following year, a 4-star kid out of LA that is literally the fastest player in all of California, Sheer.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fake speed. Jordan Washington, it is real speed. He is awesome. I mean, he's winning every track meet and all that. And again, we've said this before. If they're going to recruit smaller guys, they're going to be guys that have crazy speed, like a Speedy Luke or whatever it is. Most of the time, it's going to be bigger guys and all that. But if they go a little bit smaller, there's a reason for it.
All right, now let's talk about Michael Wiley. Yes, Kenny Abbey, you did bring up Michael Wiley yesterday because you're smarter than me. Now, Michael Wiley is one of the best backs in the conference. I'm not saying he's the best back, but if you look at rushing, you look at receiving, not fumbling the ball, and he's a player that's got some NFL potential, I believe.
Great dude, good leader, knows his role, doesn't complain. Every college football team should want a guy like Michael Wiley. I mean, he's not going to run for 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns or whatever, but he's going to be solid. You know what you're getting from him. He's going to be consistent. Arizona could do a lot worse than Wiley as their top back.
Yeah, and then after that, you got a couple different guys right there. Jonah Coleman, who is the weightlifting monster that I think Tyler Owens really likes. You got DJ Williams as well. Williams to me is interesting because Williams to me looks like the most talented out of all the backs. And whenever he touches the ball, it looks like he could go someplace, but he gets a distant third carries right there, Sheer.
He's got to stay healthy. I mean, that's really what it is. He's got to stay healthy. He missed the spring, so he's going to be behind in the fall probably. He's got to be able to stay healthy, and if he does, he'll be in line for more carries. The talent is there. They like him quite a bit. The problem is, what can we get out of him before he gets hurt again, basically.
We got to find out, too, the way that we get Speedy Luke, a.k.a. Fam, in the backfield, though, this year. Not just in the backfield, but in a variety of different ways. Fam's got to touch the ball, in my opinion, like I said, 9-10 times per game. Don't care how it's done. You got to do it, and you know what? You got to rise to the occasion. Jed Fish, you've recruited well. Now you got to put that Ferrari out on the field.
Yeah, and during the spring, it definitely felt like they were finding different ways. I mean, out of the backfield and the slot, end arounds, all that. I would be surprised if he doesn't get more touches this upcoming season.
I would agree with that as well. Now, when you look at the running backs, you look at the receivers, you look at the tight ends, I'm not sure that there's a better troika in the conference. Maybe SC, maybe, says with a question mark. But other than that, I think Arizona's got the best at all those skill position right there.
Yeah, I really like the combo. I mean, Washington, they're loaded at wide receiver. Obviously, they have a good quarterback, but
yeah, Penix sucks. We didn't want him anyway.
But when you look at Arizona overall, it's as good as I can remember at this school for a long time, right?
No doubt.
And when you look at the weakness or why Arizona's going to win or lose games, they're going to win a lot of games because of that, and they're not going to lose very many because of that. So that's the part of the team where you're clearly the most comfortable in. Speaking
of running back depth, our guy, Scottie Graham, an official member of the Back the A movement. This guy tweets out Back the A more than I tweet out Back the A. He was at IMG Academy. And again, unlike with the Sumlin staff where they would go there for a minute, take a picture to prove they were there and then leave, this guy stayed there to build relationships as good college recruiters actually do.
And I think he offered like 4 guys. There's a running back, 2 linemen, a quarterback they offered. He was in Florida. They got other offers. I think he's in Phoenix today. I gotta tell you, like, that was the most unconventional hire that Jed made, and it was one of the best. When you look at his ability,
fantastic
coaching and all, it's pretty wild that Jed saw that in him, because a lot of times you hire those guys and they're whatever.
Right.
But Scottie Graham is legit. He's
a lot of times they come in like the DeMarco Murrays. They got the name, they wear the skinny pants, but they don't really do anything. Scottie Graham is a much different man. He's a man of substance.
He is. He is a man. He backs up his word.
He does. Now, Shearer, do you wear sunglasses?
I don't, but maybe I should start.
All right, you should wear sunglasses because Shady Rays is here for you right now. Again, code word PHNX for 50% off 2 pairs. You got to remember that right there. Aiden behind the scene is one of the coolest people I've ever seen in my life. And I haven't even seen him in Shady Rays. If he was wearing Shady Rays, he would be even cooler than that. But that's for everybody right there. Now, exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code word PHNX for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. That's not 200,000 people. 250,000 people. That's the difference right there. All right. So Arizona, we've talked about it before. I'm going to keep bringing this up. Sheer, we're going bowling this year, and I believe that Arizona should be significantly better than ASU.
Look, I can't think of anything I'd rather do than spend multiple days in El Paso with you. I think that's where we're headed.
Get in line, man. And BetMGM lines are out right now. 4.5 on Arizona. The betting, I'm telling you, I keep saying this is the Vegas is very rarely behind on things. Vegas is still a little bit behind on Arizona football. They were behind on them last year with the 2.5 nonsense when Arizona got 5. They're behind on them now with 4.5. Take the over. Thank me later.
That number almost scares me a little bit because I wonder why they have it so low. That's low.
Wow. That is low, but they also had it low last year, though, and they looked stupid.
There you go. Free money.
All right. Before we sign off, Arizona basketball next year. Are you an AP? Are you able to vote on this?
For what?
Are you able to vote on like top 25 stuff? Or
no, I have the Pac-12 awards and all that, but I'm not an AP guy.
He ain't there yet. All right, but Arizona, over or under in basketball, they finished the year ranked 16th in the country. Lower, higher? What do you say? I think that's a good number.
I'd probably say lower. Probably top 20.
Top 20? So you got anywhere between 16 and 20 right there. That's how far you're back in the A.
Yeah. What do you say?
What's that? I say 16 because that's the number that I came up with. I'm saying 16. Sure. I'm allowed to push on my own line.
I respect it.
All right. Now, before we sign off here, Jimmy Butler, the most underrated star of this generation. We agree, correct?
Yeah, he's that dude.
Jimmy Butler is that guy. All right. You know who's also that guy? Aiden behind the scenes, making everything work for us. Jacob Franklin was off in meetings, so Aiden is making us look cooler than we should. So again, on that note, Sheer, before we sign off, where can they find you? Where can they get on the boards? And where can they see you causing problems with other people on Twitter?
WildcatAuthority.com, at Jason Sheer, at Twitter, and your local Circle K and OGs.
Yep, and you might, if you see somebody that looks much cooler wearing sunglasses, that's probably Jason Sheer right there. So on that note, for Jason Sheer, I'm Mike Luke. We will be back with you tomorrow. You have been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.